So we have our personal budget with the calculated numbers. Now we want to make it look for an accountant as well as for the average person that sees our wonderful chart of numbers, and we want to make it nice and pretty for them with lots of cute little colors. And we're going to learn how to do that. Bring up my textbook. We're going to be applying some styles to things, and then we'll be applying some table formats. So pop up your file, get ready to go. Okay, so we've merged and centered these. Remember how we merged and centered? You could do that with any cell if you want it to be treated as one cell. See, when I click on this, see how it surrounds that entire cell. I can always unmerge as well up there, but we're going to leave those the way they are. We have applied a heading style to those cells by dragging through all of them and then applying a heading style. And that's where we left off. And now we're going to be applying, I think, some total styles here. We applied heading 1 to those months. And now in the totals, where we have multiple totals. Oh, and I forgot, we also to apply heading style to this row here as well. So let's apply heading row to this. Now we have two options here. We could say, well, I like this style and I want to use it again. Format Painter would do this. I can turn on the paintbrush and paint through those cells. They will take heading 1. That's a nice way to use my paintbrush. If I'm not sure what they did to apply this style, but I like it, you don't have to go try to hunt down the style. You can just use the paintbrush. But if I know it's heading 1, I can select them, and then in the style, select. And now we see, because that is grayed, we see, oh, heading 1 was what was applied to there. So that's a good time. No, you can also use the paintbrush if you just know that I want whatever this style is. Now we're getting ready to format some, we're going to do total style formats in these rows with the total. Here we go. Let's drag through those, apply total style. And you know what? Since I need the total style in multiple places, I can control drag through them, and then I only have to select the style once. If you don't control drag, don't worry. You can select it one at a time, and then apply. There's the total style. And see how you hover over it, it gives you the preview of what it's going to look like. Once I hover over total, once I click, then it applies it. Now we want to do some alternate coloring in some cells here. And it looks like they do a manual coloring of the every other cell with a particular color. I'm going to do the quick way. I'm going to apply one color to all of them and then come back and apply the darker color to every other cell. So first I'm going to select through those, control select through these, and apply one light orange color to all those cells. And that's over here underneath the accent style. Let's see if I can do this here. Yeah, I can choose the color right here. So I'm going to choose the, what did they do, the 20%? Yeah, they did a 20%, a light orange. Now that those are all colored that way, if I click off of it, I'll see the actual color. Now I can go back and control select through every other one to then apply a darker orange. Now we're going to find later on an easier way to do this with table formatting, but we can manually come in, control select through every other, and now apply to that one a darker orange at the 60%, 40%. Just to give us a little better view of a category all the way across. Now you could have done select every other for either color, and that's what they did in the book, but that's kind of a pain because sometimes if you're doing the control select, you click the wrong place and then it just messes you all up. So I did the big rectangle and then came back and recolored every other. And this very last net row, we're going to apply a specific dark orange with light. Is that the accent 2? Yeah, the accent 2, dark orange. It automatically turns the font to be white. I don't think these are the greatest selections of colors, but it's something they asked for in the exercise in the book. So that didn't take very long to use our styles to apply everything. It looks pretty with colors, but it's still not quite right for an accountant because our numbers aren't lining up like an accountant likes to see. And if we're dealing with dollars, we like to see it in at least a 0.00 and lined up nicely. You see here, right here, we've got the decimals. They're not all lining up. So we're going to do the next thing is start formatting our numbers. Now there's a quick way to do the nice formatting. Just by selecting through the numbers. Up here I can select through these. And actually I don't even need to select the words. Let's see what happens if I have the words selected. I don't think they'll be affected. If I come up here and just click on the comma style, they automatically get put into a comma style. See how they're not lining up nicely now? If I like a little bit more detail, I can put a counting number format. It does comma style with dollar signs. But I don't think they want us to do that except for the first line. So I put comma style for these. Let me go back, undo. Undo. There we go. Comma style for these. The top one, I think, is the one we want to put a counting format. This one here. That top line, we're going to put that in a counting number format. Just to remind anyone looking at our spreadsheet, we're dealing with US dollars. And then I think the rest of them, we're going to apply comma style to the rest of the table. Let's verify that. Oh, it looks like they like to put the top line and the net in comma style. All right, we'll do. And do they put the total in comma style? Oh, it looks like they like the total in accounting format. And all the way to the end, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see all of them. Don't panic if you see pound signs. That just means it needs a little bit more room to see the number. And I'm going to put those in counting format. To see them, I can zoom in a little bit and they show up. Yep, for the totals. So the easy way is just select through all of them and choose comma format. Then come back to specific rows. The top row, we want to choose accounting format. Oh, I forgot to select those rows. Choose accounting format. I forgot to check that total row because it wasn't showing up here. I'll put the total row in comma format. But then come back and I'm going to select through the total row and the net row. We want accounting format. So total row all the way out to the total column, and Control select back through to there, and now apply accounting format. All of this formatting does not change the actual numbers. It only changes how they are being viewed. And see how now they're nicely lining up. The only thing left to do here is we're going to be adjusting some column widths to make it line up nicely. Now let me show you some tricks now in resizing columns and rows. We'll worry about columns at first. See, with February, I'm happy with January, but February isn't quite fitting in there. I can grab the line right above between the C and the D and just drag it to the right, just a little bit. If I double click the line, it will try to auto fit. And see how I made a slight adjustment there? Let's try that with the B column. Say it were too small. If I double click on the border, it does a quick little auto fit. Now if I do the auto fit on A, I think I'm going to have a problem. Oh, it didn't have a problem. I always thought that merged and centered cell would mess me up. Oh, I guess because it's merged and centered, it no longer tries to fit that long text, thinking it's a column A. So double clicking on a border will auto fit that particular column. And we'll see it happen with September. Adjust it slightly. Now if I don't want to keep on clicking on multiple rows or multiple columns in auto fitting, I can select through everything by clicking in the upper left corner and just double click on any border. It will auto fit all the columns automatically for me all at once. And another thing that I can do, if I select multiple columns and adjust any of those columns' widths, it will affect all the columns. So if I specifically wanted to have narrow columns, I can select through multiple columns and adjust any one of them to a specific width. They will all then take on that new width. But if I want them to be auto-fit, just double-clicking on any of the borders will auto-fit all those columns that I have selected. So the double-click on the border is very handy when I just want to let Excel do the work for me. And again, if I'm not sure and I want to do everything over again, I can always do a Control-A or select in the upper left corner and double-click on any column heading. It will auto-fit everything. And of course, if I adjust the cell, the column width, it will adjust the column width on everything. You may not always want that to happen, so come back and double-click, and it auto-fits it. So that nice auto-fit feature, I use it all the time when I'm doing like spreadsheets for grade books. So double-clicking on a border, auto-fit, but you can still manually select a particular column and manually adjust any column width. Same thing for rows. I can select on any gray and adjust that row. If I wanted to make it larger or smaller. And if I want to adjust multiple rows, I can Shift select to select all those rows. If I adjust one row, all of them will take that width. And I can Control Z back to where it was. Good thing to know when you're wanting to make a nice even looking table, adjusting your columns and rows. They spend a little time in the book explaining how you can select different boxes by typing its name in there. Like, I don't have to actually go click on H10. I could just type up here H9, and the selected cell will get outlined like that. I hardly ever select cells that way, but maybe you'll find that handy sometime if you want to verify a particular formula. Okay, so we've got our numbers. Now it's time to make a lovely pie chart. Hey, a great thing to do on Pi Day. Now watch carefully though. To make pie charts, you've got to watch what you're doing. You want to have titles in the chart, and you want to have things labeled correctly. So in order to start a pie chart, be sure to start selecting the right kind of things. We do not want totals in our pie. Well, no, we are pie charting just the totals, not all the numbers in between. But I want the labels over here on the very left side to be part of my pie chart, but not the word expenses. So selecting through these labels here before I create my pie chart is going to tell, okay, these are the labels that are going to go on my slices of pie. The numbers to go with my slices of pie are way over here, and I use Control Select to select those numbers. You better have the exact same number of rows as are selected over here, or the pie chart will come out crazy. And that's the most common problem, is you accidentally didn't quite select enough or selected too much on one column or the other. If they don't match, the pie chart will not come out right. Now, all I need to do is go to the Insert tab and choose my type of chart. And in my pie chart, I can choose multiple styles of pie. We're going to go with the 3D pie chart. And it puts it right on top of my current numbers. But I can move it, or I can move it to a different sheet. We'll modify it first, and then we'll move it over to a different sheet. So to change the title, just double-click on the title there, and give it the name Monthly Expenses. while my pie chart is selected, I have multiple types of pie charts showing as being available to me. And let's see if they're going to have us modify our style. I think they do. They suggest style 5. Let's see what style 5 does. I have the chart selected. Let's go select. If I hover over, will I see the style? There's style 5. Slightly different. I actually like one of these others. I like this. One of these has a curved edge 3D effect. But as you hover, you see some cool effects available to you. There, I actually like style 8 the best. So for this one, I'm going to let you pick your style. I'm going to go with style 8. Cool 3D, some shading. Now we're not quite done with pie charts because there's a lot more we can do with them. And want to show you how you can manipulate them. Before we do anything more, I guess they do want us to move this to a different sheet. And to do that, I can go to the Move Chart button. I thought I could right-click on it. Can I right-click? Yeah, I can right-click Move Chart, but there's also the Move Chart up on the menu bar. Move Chart, and I can choose a new sheet to go to. Right now it's an object in Sheet 1. We'll make it a new chart, and we might as well call it Monthly Expenses. And now it automatically bops us over to that new sheet we see here. We have Sheet 1 still with all our data, and we have the monthly expenses chart. I suppose that should have a better name. I think we wanted that to have a better name to be monthly expenses chart. So let's go back and rename that. Right-click, rename if I ever want to adjust the title, monthly expenses chart. If you're ever in doubt what to do, like you've been asked to rename something, just try the right click and the choice is probably there. And rather than Sheet 1, I think we want to give it better than that generic name. We're going to call it Monthly Finances. We're going to rename this one to be Monthly Finances. So click on the tab, right click, rename, Monthly Finances. And I can even color that various colors. So go ahead and pick a color of your tab. I'll let you pick any color. They suggest a greenish. You can pick any color there. Right-click to select a color for your tab. And I hardly ever mess with tab colors, but just so you know how it's done. And notice it turns that color when you leave that sheet. See how I made it blue, but now when it's active, it shows green. This shows the gray when it's not active. I'm going to give it a bit less boring color here. Make that a yellowish. It's sort of, you see a sort of a gradient of that color when you're not on it, but when it's behind, it shows up all that solid color. So coloring our tabs, adjusting our colors in the pie chart. Now before we leave pie chart, I want to show you a few extra things that they're not showing us in the book, but it should be something that you know how to do with pie charts. Remember, I can always choose my design, my style of my pie chart, but watch the other things that I can do. If I want to highlight a specific item in my pie chart, I can click on the pie chart once, click on it again on that piece of the pie, and it shows that piece selected. I can drag that away and kind of emphasize that particular piece of the pie. And again, I do it by clicking once and then dragging it away. Kind of a neat effect that you can apply if you want to emphasize a particular item. Select and drag. If I haven't selected the pie yet, I have to come in here and click once. If I click once and drag, I guess it actually does separate. I was thinking I had to click twice before it would select that single piece. So a good thing to know, kind of a neat way to highlight a specific item if like that's the biggest expense you want to focus on in your meeting or get some attention to that. You can always recolor your pieces of the pie by right-clicking and choosing your fill color. So you can fill your piece of the pie with even a gradient, or let's try a different fill. Let's try a texture. I can even fill a piece of the pie with a, I think even with a picture. Yeah, I can even fill it with a picture. So you can have some cool effects there. Something that they don't show you till the more advanced books, but I figure it's worth knowing because pie charts can be very good at highlighting some aspect of the number chart. And I think these labels are way too small. I think I can adjust the size of the labels too if I needed to. Yeah, I can increase the size of my labels. So there you have how to create pie charts with a few extras just for fun. And just for fun, I'm going to pull that one away. I think you can tell to explode your entire pie chart as well. So there's our numbers. There's our lovely graphics explaining our numbers. And let's see what else. They discussed printing this. We're not going to be printing, but remember, if you ever needed to send this to someone with not an Excel format, I would print to not a printer, but I can go over here to print, and I can select, instead of an actual physical printer, I can select a printer called print to PostScript, to PDF. I can actually make a PDF out of all my sheets, and as I'm printing it to a PDF, I can choose how it's formatted. I can change it to, typically Excel sheets come out better in landscape format. I can do some scaling and even choose the size of that sheet that will be in PDF format. So typically if they don't have Excel at the other end, and of course you don't want them to edit your file, you can send it as a PDF. And let's see, I'm going to scale this because I see this is getting cut off. Let's see if I can let it scale a little bit here. Let's change to fit sheet on one page. There we go. Fits it to one page. This will generate a PDF file, and once I click print. And in the preview, it's not seeing, I don't know why it's not showing my pie chart. Print active sheets. Let's go print all sheets. Print entire workbook. There we go. Now I will see multiple pages, my pie chart, and my numbers. So typically you'll print it. What's that? No, you don't need to do this. I just wanted you to be aware that this is a great way to send it to someone that if they don't have Excel. But you don't have to generate this and send it as homework. But know how this can be done. Most of the time you're just going to send someone the Excel file. But remember, if you send them the Excel file, they can mess with the numbers. If you're the accountant and you're responsible for the numbers, it's safest to send the Excel or send the printout. Now there is one more thing you can do if you don't want them editing it. You can actually protect your workbook by right-click. You can actually protect certain sheets, but then you also have to set a password to your file. And I'm not seeing protect here. Where I thought I could set protection here. Maybe it's back in the file options. Don't worry about protection right now. That's an extra thing. So at this point, I believe this first Excel file is done. They show you that you can do a spell check across the entire thing underneath Review. On the Review tab, you can always check your spelling. Great thing to do before you submit it to your boss. It'll catch any obvious spelling errors. There still might be incorrect words, but that are in the dictionary. And there I can run a complete spell check. I guess they spend a little time showing you, remember how you can always get into your file properties and modify your properties of your file, giving it your information in there. That's a handy thing to do if you know this file might be going to a lot of places. Set up your properties so they know this belongs to you and what your email is or your company is you're sending that out. Just making sure we haven't missed anything. Correcting any errors. Oh, did we have an error in one particular cell? Gas. They're pointing to gas, but they want us to change that. No, I think we're good. All right, just making sure we got everything done here before we. Yeah, it looks like that's it for that project. So saving that one last time, and that's ready to upload. And then we're ready to get started on the next project. Give you some time to save that and upload it. Making sure mine is saved. And let's see, I think we're starting with an existing project for this next one. Let me check here. Or are we starting with a blank one? Let's see. Oh, no, we are starting with the blank one for the next one. All right, I'm going to start a new one, and let me know when you're ready, and we'll get going on the project 2. New blank workbook. And I'm going to make sure I save this before I even start on it. I'm going to save this as Manning Excel Module 2. So this one's a similar type of worksheet, reporting on employees, with some information about them, and then something to do with their salary. We're putting this in the columns across the top as we're going to be naming our employees. This is going to be the number of dependents, how many hours they've worked, their hourly rate, and I'm going to do something different. We'll come back to this, show you how I can let Excel do the work for me. I'm hitting tab instead of right arrow. EX50, EX61. I'll zoom out just a bit here. And remember, I can always auto fit to get that column to fit in there. And I'm going to show you something here on hourly pay rate. I'm going to let Excel do the work in wrapping that text. To let Excel do the work, I select that cell, and I'm going to go underneath here the alignment details. Oh, it looks, it has a wrap text icon right there. I can tell to wrap text there. Remember, there's always the alignment settings, extra dialog. I can do multiple things with my text going to that extra dialog. And also here, I can turn on or off the wrapping of the text. So be familiar with that. In case there's something that doesn't show up on your toolbar, you can always go to the extra full menu. You might find some extra things in there. And notice here I can go through all the particular categories of the formatting. And that extra formatting, I call this the format cells or the extra dialog under this formatting. There's also the extra dialog under number. We're going to be visiting this as well. So when I want it to wrap, like that's going to be too long on one line, I just turn on wrapping. And I can turn that on for that one too, and have it appear a little nicer. Now we're going to start putting in some numbers here and names of our employees based on the table on A62. Yes. All right. Well, the rest here is just starting to fill in names. I'll zoom out so you can see all the columns here. There's all the columns. And now we're just starting to add names to it. Last name, then first name. Skipping the email address for now, putting in their dependent numbers. Each of them has worked a different amount of hours. Ooh, this guy's really worked hard. Fred. Oh, Fred's getting overworked. Or sorry, I got 60 there, not 50. And they each have a different pay rate. Everything else, we're going to be letting Excel do the work for all of these. The only other thing we're filling in is a hire date. So I'll let you fill in those numbers. I'll leave them up there. Once we have all the numbers, we're going to let Excel calculate the formulas. And we're only going to do it actually for one person, and then we'll copy down the formulas. So actually we're only entering formulas in 5 cells, copying them down, and then all the numbers will come out, if we've done it right, for all the employees. And we're going to use a special feature of Excel called flashfill to let it figure out our email addresses. Once we've entered 2 email addresses, Excel will know how to fill the rest of the email addresses. So we'll put in only the first 2. So we just enter those 2 email addresses, and then Excel is going to do the rest for us with a special feature here on the Data tab. Now let's see how this works here. Let's see if I have to have Fred selected here. Where's my flash fill? Here's flash fill. Let's see what happens if I have that selected. Look at that. It figured out what to put there just based on what it saw in other cells. Click here, flash fill. Now I don't really trust flash fill unless I see that it's working. Look at that. Isn't that pretty cool? Now, of course, we don't need it here, so we can delete it out of there. It figures out, based on what it sees in other cells, oh, here's how you're getting emails. Okay, I'll do it for you. Rather than make you have to type all the rest. This isn't so bad if I only have a dozen names, but imagine 100 names, and you show your boss, hey, you want to type those in? Sure, it's going to be really hard, boss. Let me get back to you, and you do the flash fill, go have coffee, and then come back and say, hey, look, I did all those names for you. Unless they know the flash fill, and they know it only takes you a click or 2. So, there we go, flash fill. Now we're ready to, don't click on the email or it'll want to start sending an email. Okay, so now, okay, let me know when you're ready. Those of you that are ready, figure out what those formulas should be. And remember the emails, you don't have to type those in. We're going to let flashfill do the work for you. And we're not in any big hurry here because we actually didn't have the plan to start Module 2 until Friday. So if we get ahead, we might just have a day of just reviewing things to make sure you have this down. Because remember, Excel is probably what you're most likely to have to do the most of when you're out there working. You probably won't be writing as many memos and research papers unless you get a research job. Most people, after they leave Emmaus, are very thankful for some of the Excel skills. So if you already know Office, concentrate on knowing and practicing these extra features in Excel. Those will be most likely what you'll have to use in the real world out there. And I think we might as well stop there since we're almost out of time. We'll be doing those formulas on Friday. And if you're used to this, if you've used this before, explore the other items here. Things of other add-in features. There's some very powerful features here that I'll be showing you as well when we get the basic stuff done.